Please take a deep breath in. I think now we're in a good space to talk about sadhana, because why, I suppose, quite mental, isn't it? It's quite mental. And when we talk about sadhana, really it's something from the heart. It's beyond that, it's something from the heart. And at this point in my life and also in your life, sadhana, it's the most important thing, actually, because it gives us that connection. And if you've come to this point that you're studying yogic studies and you're here and you're about to be a teacher, then that's where you're finding your connection. And we don't get that same connection in our daily life. We get it in our sadhana. Everything that we don't get from our daily life, we can get from our sadhana. Actually, it gives us everything we need. I've come to feel that way. It gives us everything that we need. Because we're not so happy or satisfied just with going about our day in that external way. We want more. We need more. And to progress and to evolve and to move up, we have to develop somehow that inner awareness. We just stay where we are unless we develop that inner awareness. And there are ways to do it, but you've come to yoga. I've come to yoga. This is a way to do it. So we have to also remember why we do sadhana. You know what sadhana is? Sadhana means to perfect something. So it doesn't have to be, my sadhana could be being a mum, it could be being a teacher, it could be something. But in this context, it means to perfect something. And to perfect something, we have to do it regularly. You can't perfect something and then, you have to do it regularly, you have to commit. So that's sadhana. And sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, what we're practicing, how long we're practicing it for, all of these details, and we forget why we're doing it. So it's really important. If you remember, you're doing sadhana to connect. You're doing it to connect with that peace, with that flame, with the spirit of yoga. Actually, that's why you're doing sadhana. So it's more important that you're doing it regularly, a little bit each day, than these big, long, inspired sadhanas, and then you don't do anything for a few weeks. And it's so that every day you have a connecting point. And you're developing the inner awareness, because it's all good to say, find your flame of peace and you are light and you are this. But if you don't understand the parts that make you you, the part that's ego, the part that's buddhi, all of those bits, then how can we just go round and round. So we have to develop the inner awareness, and that's the whole path of yoga. And actually it's just like mind management. Swami Satyadharma said that a lot. It's just mind management. If we could manage our minds, we don't need yoga. So even though there's so many other benefits that we get along the way, it's really, once we know that's ego, that's that, and we're starting to hear buddhi, and we're starting to listen to those little whispers from our soul, and we're becoming more established in that, our sadhana is developing. And the other thing with sadhana is that it's not closing our eyes, we do our sadhana and that's it. It's there so that we can carry that connection through our life. And sometimes we get caught there. I've done that myself, that we get caught with that, oh, I need to do my sadhana, I don't want to do that, I don't want to, you've interrupted. You know, we start pushing things away, and that's not it either. Actually, it's so that whatever comes into our life, we can feel that presence and we can flow with that. And that's an outcome when you start to see that you're open to the situations and the things happening. That's an outcome of your personal sadhana. That's a sign. Not how long and how still you were, how much you were able to flow and be present. That's the outcome. And I learnt that myself, you know, a few years ago. I came to a program here. It was a Navaratri program. And it was a big sadhana. For 10 days, we did a lot, and everything that we had, you had to give to that sadhana. So there was a reward, you know, at the end. We were all really feeling very focused and feeling a lot of bliss. And then I went home, and I continued on with that sadhana. And when I look back on it, I don't know how I was doing that. That's how inspired I was. I continued on with this big, lengthy sadhana, and it was easy. There was no effort. I was chanting the whole Sundalahari every night, 108 rounds of the 32 names of Durga every morning, being a mum, working, APMB, no worries. It was a piece of cake. It went on for 3 months. That was all I wanted to do. I didn't have anything conflicting with that. It fit into my day. It was an outcome of being here, that inspiration. But one morning I was doing meditation. My daughter was 4. And she came in and she started calling out, Mum. And my response, my internal response was I was annoyed. She'd interrupted me. I was annoyed. And even though I smiled and I faked it and I opened my eyes and, you know, faked it till I made it and we were having a good time, I kept thinking about it that whole day, that my internal response was that I was annoyed. And when that happened, when I felt annoyed, I felt it go through my whole being, this vibration. And I knew that it had just cancelled out whatever sadhana I'd been doing for that hour. I knew it had just, I felt that. I felt it just wipe it out. But I kept thinking that day, and I realized I'd completely missed it. I'd completely missed the point. That sadhana is there so that anything that comes, I'm open to that, I'm present to that, I see the divinity in that, I feel the peace in that, I welcome that. You see the difference?
Yeah.
And here I was seeing that as an interruption. And so I completely, I changed that, and from that moment on, whenever an interruption would come, it would be the most beautiful interruption. There is the Divine Mother in the form of my daughter coming to me, and my arms would be open. And that stayed with me since then. And that is the best thing that happened out of that whole Navaratri sadhana, out of that whole daily practice. Not the fact that I was chanting Sundalahari and 108 names of Durga. That doesn't mean anything. The change in my practical life. And that stayed with me more and more, that when something comes that doesn't fit the way I wanted it to be, it wasn't what I planned, it wasn't what I set out to do, it's a change. There's an openness, there's a presence. And, you know, I've been in this for 15 or 20 years, and it's taken, you know, and along the way these things start to click into place, and it's just one small thing. But that's changed my life, that if something comes to me, I can just be still and be there and receive it. And, you know, that other stuff is just in the background. So I've come to realize that's what comes out of sadhana. It has to be practical. It has to be a practical result in your life that brings you more peace to you and to the people around you. And it's not about closing and shutting things off. Sometimes that's just a natural outcome. The desires that you have, you might not want to do certain things or engage in certain ways. But it's not now that you go home and your partner's not into sadhana, so you get rid of the partner, or You know, it's not like that, actually. And I've been a bit like that in the past too. It's like you get a bit rigid and you want to stick to your timetable and all of that. So it's really like if you can keep focused on why you're doing it to connect. You're doing it to develop inner awareness. And whatever's in your life, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the inner awareness that it can be with you throughout the day, throughout the sleep. And the sadhana is just a chance to plug back in and connect to that. And you know how it feels when you're not connected. Right now we're all connected, actually. And you're in a very challenging situation, but you're connected and it doesn't matter what happens. You'll feel okay. But there's times when we're not like that. And if you've got a sadhana going, those times don't last long at all. So you have to think now, this is a really, I feel that this is a really critical point for you with sadhana, because you've had a year and a half or a year and 3/4 or maybe more of moving through yogic studies, and that's a very specific sadhana. It's not yours. It's not your personal sadhana. That's the training, that's the foundation, and now you're ready to start yours. Maybe you had one before yogic studies and you're ready to pick it back up. Maybe you're ready now to get your own in place. But you've gone through and you know now. You know when Pingala's more active and you need to do something else. You have an understanding. You have such a thorough grounding. You don't have this foundation in anywhere else in the world in this kind of tradition or yogic development. Think about what you've learned, what you've gone through. Just look at asana. PMA 1, 2 and 3, and then all the classics, Surya Namaskar. You've got a big variety to choose from based on what you need. Based on what you need. Pranayam. You've got a few up your sleeve there. Mudras. You've got a lot. It's not just Chin and Gyan. You know Shambhavi, you know Kechari, Unmani. You know a lot of mudras. Pandas. There's lots of teachers out there that aren't practicing bandhas or knowing bandhas, and you know the effects of the practices. So you've really gone into it quite deeply. You've had to report back on everything. You've had to be engaged. And the most important thing is you've had to be regular. And in my opinion, that is the biggest blessing out of all of this, is that now you've got a regular practice. And you had to adjust your life for that. Did you had to make changes? So you've done that. And now you just keep it going with your personal sadhana. And that's why it's critical, because you can just drop off now. You don't have to report back. You don't have to submit anything, do you? Now it's all teaching. You have to submit class plans. You're in teacher mode. So you're in the theory and you're working things out, and maybe you're practicing the classes for yourself, but that's not sadhana. That's not your personal sadhana. Do you see the difference? So I think when you leave and you get home, if you have something in place to keep it going while you're regular, it will be such a gift for you, and it's really important, because you won't feel like a good teacher if you're not doing it. I can guarantee that. You won't. You won't be connected. Even if you have the best training, the best technique, the best delivery, that spirit of yoga comes to you in sadhana, and it comes through your teachings. That's where it comes. And you know, all of the really good teachers you've had, they're so connected to that. And they have such a way with words. Have you noticed they say just the right thing at just the right time to deepen your experience. And when they say it, you believe it. When a great teacher says, see the flame, when a great teacher says, see the flame, you see it and you feel it and you know it and you believe them. Because it's coming from a place of purity. The teaching's just coming through because they're in touch with that spirit of yoga, and it just comes through. And as a yoga teacher, the best thing you can hope for is that you can just be connected enough that that will speak to your students. Because when it does, it can change someone's life. And the best thing about teaching is if you have a student that really takes yoga on, they start to feel the totality of it. They bring it into their home or their family. They decide to become a yoga teacher themselves. That is the best. That's the best you can hope for, more than big classes and money and centers, and that's okay. But when somebody really connects with the spirit of yoga, when you're able to just transmit that teaching because you're connected, nothing beats that. So it's if you're going to teach, it's really important. Your sadhana goes like this and your teaching goes along beside it. And you're not teaching your sadhana. That has to be clear. You're not teaching your sadhana. You're teaching what the students need for the level that you're at, but your sadhana absolutely affects it. And in my own experience, if I have to develop a class or do something, I'm not sure what to do. All the time, I'm never sure what to do or what to say, even now. But I know when I sit down in my sadhana, something comes. That's where all the ideas and the creativity come. So you can make a plan and you can check it all out, and then you sit down, and at the end of your sadhana or the beginning or somewhere in between, something pops in there, and it's just a creative thread. Just a creative thread. And it can come into your classes as well. And you have to be practical. So if you're thinking about sadhana, what you're going to do at home, now that you have all of this teaching preparation to do as well. So it has to be something you can commit to. And I'll tell you what my sadhana is, what I'm committed to. It's 10 minutes of meditation a night. 10 minutes of meditation a night. Because I can do that no matter what. And I do that no matter what. And I will keep doing that. I can commit to that. The mornings, it depends. I've got a child. She wakes up sick. I don't do it. Something can happen. But no matter what, I can do 10 minutes at night. That suits my circumstance. It's practical. And I do a lot more than that. I do mornings, and more often you'll sit than 10 minutes. You're only just getting into it. You'll sit for more than 10 minutes. But I'm very clear that that's what I'm committed to. So when you think about developing your own sadhana plan, think about your life and what you could manage no matter what. And then everything else is a bonus. Everything else is a bonus. And there has to be inspiration as well to keep it going. If it's small and you can manage it and you can enjoy it, you'll keep it going. And I've learned that so many times. You get really inspired and I say, okay, I'm going to do the Kriyas for 3 months. And suddenly I'm doing an hour and a half every morning, and then after 3 weeks, I'm tired and it drops off for a day or two, and then nothing's happened for 3 days and I'm back to, so it's taken a lot of years of coming and going and big inspirations and the way that life works out, just to finally realize, commit to 10 minutes a day. That's what I can do no matter what. And everything else is just ebb and flow. So, maybe you're an older woman and you're single and you're working twice a week and you've got a situation where your sadhana can be an hour every day. Great. So you have to look at your life and what can fit. And in this tradition, they have given a template for sadhana. Have you heard about it? I'm not sure. Satyadharma talks about it a lot, but probably not to you because you've been very busy with your own yogic studies, sadhana. And maybe we'll write it down and you can have a think about it, how you want to adjust it for you. And would you mind to write it up there for me, Gyanaman? Sure. So what's being given is in the morning an APMB that goes for about 20 minutes. And it's suggested Surya Namaskar, 3 to 6 rounds, if you're able to. 3 to 6 rounds, Surya Namaskar. And then after that, just 2 asana, ones that you like, that you want to do. And now you know how to balance your asana. So you're thinking you've done Surya Namaskar, maybe you're going to do an inversion and a twist. So 2 asana. If you're not doing Surya Namaskar, if you can't do it, if you don't want to do it, then you do 5 asana. And then the next is pranayam. And the pranayam that's given is Nadi Shodhan. It's really, as a consistent practice, it's the best. And you can develop that so much. You can really spend a lifetime just on Nadi Shodhan. The different ratios, the different lengths. Like once you get into internal retention, external, it's a whole, you can really just keep going with that forever. So Nadi Shodhan, the balancing pranayam. And you might find at different stages in your life, you need something else. You need the fire. You're getting Alzheimer's, you're forgetting things. You need Kapalabhati, you need Bhastrika. So the pranayam can change according to what you need. But as a consistent practice, Nadi Shodhan is given. And then 1 mudra and 1 bandha. Your choice, you develop it. Maybe it's Shambhavi and Mulabandh. You develop that and you commit to it until you really, you can just keep going, the same practice. The same regular practice, you'll get more and more and more depth. And then the next sadhana that's given is that when you finish your day, whether you're at home or you're outside, that activity that's dynamic and externalized, when you finish with that you just do a 10-minute yoga nidra. And you can do that to yourself now. And it's very interesting. You'll see you always space out at, the right-hand thumb or at some point, and you'll start to really learn for yourself, giving yourself your own yoga nidra. Just 10 minutes, or even shavasana, 10 minutes. And that makes the switch. You'll see it makes the switch, and you'll then be in your home life and you'll be very present. You've had that switch from that external activity to something that's a bit more present and peaceful for home life, for nighttime. How are you going? You're getting it all?
Evening.
No, so this is
Sunset.
It could
be
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sunset.
and this is something to be adapted for you, for what works. So it's, say if you're out and you're working and you get home at 7, well then it's at 7. It's whenever you're making that switch. And then you do what you do at home with the kids or the husband or by yourself. You're cooking, you're being present, you're in the home situation. Before bed, meditation. Just 10 to 15 minutes meditation. And this is something that once you establish it, stick to it. So have a think about what you want to do. Your meditation for your whole life can be breath awareness. That could be your sadhana, and everything that you need to connect with buddhi, to connect with peace, to establish that in your sadhana and in your life can come from one practice. And when we chop and change all the time, you've been learning, you've got it now. But when we chop and change all the time in our own sadhana, we're just following the whims of the mind, actually. We're getting bored and we're moving around. So once you commit to a regular practice, that's it. Commit to it, develop it. You can add more things on, but keep that regular practice. So have a think about what that is. For me, it's a few minutes of breath awareness, and then it's mantra repetition with an internal tratak on a symbol. And it hardly ever goes for 10 minutes, but in my mind, that's my sadhana. So it could be breath, it could be mantra, it could be open tratak, closed tratak, it could be a japa jap, could definitely be a japa jap. So you have a think about what that is, and then you commit to it. And there's one thing I forgot to mention as well. In the morning, when you first open your eyes, before you get up, are the 3 mantras. Well, that's debatable. If you can, great. I've come to like the way that I do it now because I waft in and out still. And I feel like it's really getting into some of the subconscious too. So if you can, you sit up and you do it.
You can lie down and do it.
You can lie down and do it. And if you really commit to that morning mantra, you can do it no matter what. If you're still half asleep, if you're sitting up, nothing's stopping you while you're still in your bed. No external circumstances stopping that. It's just you and your own inspiration. And this is such a, the more we develop our inner awareness, the more we start to think about sleep and what is happening through that whole period when we're asleep. In dreams, out of dreams, unconscious. There's a whole thing happening at nighttime that we're not really aware of. And the more that we're established in that inner awareness, we become a bit more interested in our sleep as well. And sometimes we're really just stuck there in the subconscious with all of these impressions, and it's not always pleasant. We're just releasing and moving around in that. So when you wake up and you start your day with the mantras, it's completely clearing and bringing a pure vibration back into your whole being. Such a difference to your day.
In the odd day that I don't, I notice a total difference. And I do it with Narayan every morning.
And you've all learnt the mantras now. You all have access to it if you're still learning. And you do it in your way. Do it in your way. And know why you're doing it. See, if you get all... Commit, be inspired, but don't get too regimented that you don't want to do it. Do it in your way, make it flow for you. And when you know why you're doing it, it changes everything. Why you're doing it? You're doing it to connect again with a pure vibration. And you can see through that template, there's stages through the whole day to dip in, to charge up, to connect. And the moment you start to get caught back up again, guess what? It's time for Yoga Nidra. And you're home. And then you're in the family life and you're doing all of that. You're not blocking anything out. You're flowing with everything. That is the outcome of sadhana. You're present and you're flowing with everything. But to do that, you have to keep connecting. And we're not there yet. And this is our sadhana, to connect. If it comes to the point that you're always established in that peace, in that inner awareness, you don't need sadhana. You don't need it.
Then you're enlightened.
And when we don't do that, we feel it. We accumulate stuff each day. And this is the way to get relief from that and to connect. So this is the prescribed sadhana, and I don't want to sit here and preach about sadhana or taking something on that's prescribed, but it's just an example of a template, and you can see why it's there and how it works. And you can start to think about what you can do, what fits your life, what you like, what you want to do. It has to be what you want to do. Sadhana can't be a drag, Can't be a drag. You have to want to do it. You have to enjoy it. You might decide that this is the year for kirtan. And so you stick with your minimum baseline. 10 minutes meditation at night. No matter what, you stick with that. Or whatever it is you've decided to stick with. And everything else might drop away and you might start singing kirtan every night, 2 hours a night. You're totally into it. That's your sadhana for the year. You're taking that on. You know, so you will have all of your different inspirations. Let them come and go. Be immersed. Let them drop off. But keep something regular. Keep something regular. Because when it drops off and the inspiration drops away, you're at a standstill. You can't progress. You actually can't move forward and develop it more without that. Does anyone else want to say something now?
No, it kind of reminds me of walking the dogs every morning. That's just like, it's this commitment they have to dogs, you know. So that's the one week thing that I do every morning.
Yes.
Anyway. So that just kind of ran.
And, you know, I've had dogs, and it's that thing where when you remember why you're doing it and why you have a dog and why you're going for the walk, hey, it's fresh air, it's exercise, it's fun, it's enjoyable. And then when you don't, it's like, oh, I got to walk the dogs. And what really helps with walking the dogs is when you catch up with other people with dogs and they talk about the dogs and walking the dogs and you're all excited, you know, and you're pumped and you're going for a 2-hour walk the next day. So you find ways to keep inspired as well. And I can personally say, when you move through this phase of teaching, retreats are one way of doing it. Retreats are one way of doing it. They really kickstart your sadhana. And you notice straight away when you come home from the retreat and you move into your sadhana, the different perception that you have and the different depth. And it's always in a different area. And I would say, if you're starting to feel a bit flat, think about a retreat that you can do, not just any retreat, with someone that is more established, has buddhi, Satyadharma as an example, someone that can really speak from a place of truth and authenticity. And that really deepens your sadhana. And even if you go home and you think, okay, in 3 months' time I might go to that retreat, you have it on the radar, that inspires you to keep going too, because you don't want to go to a retreat all out of whack and out of sync, and you know, so you think about one and you book in and you go, and that keeps you going, and it starts to fade and you have another one, and they're all things to keep the sadhana going. And it will come into your teaching because it's coming from that place of authenticity, of understanding. And that spirit of yoga is with you, it really is. All of the masters, they want the purity of those teachings. Okay, let's just close our eyes again. And now just allow all of that mental activity to settle. All of the ideas about sadhana, all of the things that have been said. And soften in again to your inner space. Feel your flame. And feel that your flame is at the center of your being. Everything is just action around it. Prepare to chant the mantra Om and Om Shanti with all of your heart. Deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hariharan. Hariam Tat Sat. Please take a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hariom Tat Sat. I think now we're in a good space to talk about sadhana, because YS4 is quite mental, isn't it? It's quite mental. And when we talk about sadhana, really it's something from the heart. It's beyond that, it's something from the heart. And at this point in my life and also in your life, sadhana, it's the most important thing, actually, because it gives us that connection. And if you've come to this point that you're studying yogic studies and you're here and you're about to be a teacher, then that's where you're finding your connection. And we don't get that same connection in our daily life. We get it in our sadhana. Everything that we don't get from our daily life, we can get from our sadhana. Actually, it gives us everything we need. I've come to feel that way. It gives us everything that we need. Because we're not so happy or satisfied just with going about our day in that external way. We want more. We need more. And to progress and to evolve and to move up, we have to develop somehow that inner awareness. We just stay where we are unless we develop that inner awareness. And there are ways to do it, but you've come to yoga. I've come to yoga. This is a way to do it. So we have to also remember why we do sadhana. You know what sadhana is? Sadhana means to perfect something. So it doesn't have to be, my sadhana could be being a mum, it could be being a teacher, it could be something. But in this context, it means to perfect something. And to perfect something, we have to do it regularly. You can't perfect something and then you have to do it regularly, you have to commit. So that's sadhana. And sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, what we're practicing, how long we're practicing it for, all of these details, and we forget why we're doing it. So it's really important. If you remember, you're doing sadhana to connect. You're doing it to connect with that peace, with that flame, with the spirit of yoga. Actually, that's why you're doing sadhana. So it's more important that you're doing it regularly, a little bit each day, than these big, long, inspired sadhanas and then you don't do anything for a few weeks. And it's so that every day you have a connecting point. And you're developing the inner awareness, because it's all good to say, you know, find your flame of peace and you are light and you are this. But if you don't understand the parts that make you you, the part that's ego, the part that's buddhi, all of those bits, then how can we, you know, we just go round and round. So we have to develop the inner awareness, and that's the whole path of yoga. And actually it's just like mind management. Swami Satyadharma said that a lot. It's just mind management. If we could manage our minds, we don't need yoga.